Welcome to Reality with Kiki. I'm your host, Kiki, and on this channel, we discuss reality TV, celebrity gossip, and viral topics. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like our content. You can also follow us on our Facebook page. A link will be in the description box below, and we also have it linked in our bio. All right, so Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So we start this episode off with the aftermath of the police showing up to the Sprinter looking for Jen Shaw. So the ladies are just like in disbelief and going crazy. Pretty much just Heather, Lisa, and Whitney. Jenny doesn't really seem to care. Her attitude just it's annoying to me. But anyway, Lisa's fake crying, calling the SWAT was just here. Girl, calm down. The other thing I think that is so funny is that like Heather was just like, I'm scared of the popo and I don't deal with the police. But I'm just like, girl, you was just so cooperative with the police. You was talking to the police with no problem. She's like, should I call Jen? Oh, they really weren't trying to come and get her. They just said they wanted to make sure she was okay. So Whitney was like, yeah, I think that was just a tactic. That might just be a tactic so they could get her. And I'm like, exactly, Whitney. You're very smart. So Lisa's like, I'm going to call my attorney so he can find out what's going on. And it's just like, girl, Lisa, shut up. So Jenny is like, this has nothing to do with us. I think we should just go. And then she goes and gets Jen's bag that she doesn't bring, that she didn't take when she left. And they're going through picking out the snacks out the bag. And then they are on their way. All right, so they cut to Meredith and she's at the vacation rental. She's already there. She's there first. Obviously, she's hosting a trip, so that makes the most sense. And then we cut back to the ladies in the van as they are on this road trip to Vale. So they are just constantly talking about like Jen and her arrest and what's going on and what they think, what their theories are, and all of these different things, right? So Lisa's husband calls her and she just explains to him, yeah, I talked to the attorneys. They told me not to speak to the police without them present. Blah, blah, blah. But quick sidebar right before that, Lisa brings up, oh, how did they know that she was going to be here? Like outside of our families, nobody really knew that we were going to be here, which was at Beauty Labs getting on the bus. So she's already putting fillers out there that like somebody snitched on Jen to the police. Right? So back back to the Sprinter where they're having the conversation. So she's on the phone with her husband. She told him about what the attorney said, and then she's quickly like trying to say like, I think Meredith has something to do with it. Y'all already know how I feel about Lisa, and I am pretty much dead on, and I see right through her little tricks and games. So the fact that she pointed out, oh, somebody had to tell on her. Like that is the only possibility, that somebody had to tell on her. And then for you to say that you think Meredith has something to do with it, very suspicious, Lisa. And then I think Heather or Whitney were like, Oh, to Lisa, right after she hung up with her husband, you've been really close to Jen this year. Like, you guys haven't had any discussion. She's like, oh, well, we haven't really talked. We don't really talk about her business. It's like, yeah, because you looking real suspicious and it's looking like you might get caught up in this. That's why you calling attorneys and stuff like that. Nobody else called an attorney to get any advice or to have them have a discussion about what's going on. I think that you tied up in what Jen got going on, and I think that Lisa is the person who called the police. Okay? Because you already trying to put it out on other people. Everybody, I think last week I was seeing online was trying to figure out who called the police on Jen. I think it was Lisa. She seems like the type. Everything else that I picked up on Lisa, she is the one who called the police, and nobody can convince me differently unless something else come out and y'all got proof. To me, Lisa called the cops, or she orchestrated for her to get caught up and caught by the police. Period. But Whitney also made an observation about, because they were like, why was NYPD here? And Whitney was like, Jen's headquarters was in New York, which I'm like, that makes absolute sense. But for me, I'm a side eye Lisa every time, and Lisa's also from New York, so that could be a reason why they're involved. But we're gonna get into it. How we get into it, we're gonna figure it out. So Whitney was going into how she always wondered how Jen got her money and the lavish lifestyle that she lives. And I was just like, yeah, she was spending other people's money. She didn't care. um, but then she picked up on Lisa's suspiciousness. And she always do. She always peak game when it come to Lisa. And I love that about Whitney. So she was like, Lisa's acting weird. She keeps saying someone tipped them off, and then she's calling her attorneys. And Heather is like, yeah, because if she has something to do with it or she knows something, she's going to be implicated. And Whitney's like, this is weird. I'm telling y'all, Lisa is the one. She did it. So as they are still on this road trip, Whitney sees an article that says that Jen has been arrested for money laundering and fraud and all of these things concerning her business. So she's like, oh my God, oh my God. So Heather's like, send it to me, send it to me. Right? So she's sending it to them and whatever. Lisa's reading and she's like, oh my God. She starts crying. What about their families? And Stu got arrested. I feel so bad. And I just like, save it, Lisa. Her antics was just ridiculous. And then Heather started crying too, but I feel like Heather's tears are authentic. Lisa's tears are not. Jenny has no type of reaction because she doesn't care. And they're like, we should have stayed, we should have stayed. And Jenny is like, well, what is that going to do, right? Jenny is so focused on going on this trip because I think that she doesn't really get a chance to get away from her kids and her family, her husband, whatever. But that is a personal problem. Right? Like, I just feel like Jenny is like, I don't care. Like, this has nothing to do with me. You are going to get no reaction from me. But this is what I want to do to make myself feel better. So, Whitney is like, yeah, I always wonder because Jenny is like, well, who was close to her? Who would know? And Whitney was like, well, I would think it was Lisa, but apparently none of us really know. And she's like, I always questioned Jen's lifestyle, but I just thought she had a sugar daddy. And I'm like, is that shade, Whitney? Because her husband is a coach, right? Like, college coaches can make millions of dollars. But she said, not that man. Not Coach Shy. But Jenny was pretty much just like everybody else is overreacting, like it's just a charge. It's not like she's in court and they says she's saying that she's guilty or they're saying that she's guilty. And I was like, okay, well, I agree in that instance. Jenny is correct. And Lisa calls Meredith to try kind of catch her up to speed on what's going on because she's like, have you been checking your phone? And she's like, no, I've been busy trying to make sure everything is all set here. And she's like telling her, Jen was arrested. It's on the news like 5 minutes after she left off the bus here. SWAT pulled up and they were looking for her and all of these things, right? And Meredith is like, I'm not surprised, right? And um, because Jenny is kind of Lisa 2.0 in a sense that like I don't know, it's the way that she tries to dig for information. So like she's like, "Oh, well, what do you know, Meredith? Did she tell you anything?" And she's like, "No, but a lot of things um I questioned a lot of things about her and I'm not surprised that she was arrested." So after Lisa hangs up with Meredith, she's like, "She must know something that we don't know." And in her confessional, Lisa's like, yeah, so, even if you don't know Jen or you don't like Jen, you would have a different type of reaction. There was like no reaction from Meredith. She was unfazed. And it's just like, I disagree, right? If you're fake like yourself, Lisa, then maybe you'll have an over the top reaction. But for Meredith, she talked about her son. She's done disgusting things online. I wouldn't care either if Jim was arrested. I would be like, good. Because I feel like you should have been arrested for offending me. Okay? And, Meredith is my favorite on the show. So I will be kind of slighted, show a little bit of favoritism, but I think Meredith's reaction is perfect. So Whitney, is just like putting all the pieces together and talking about money laundering. And she's like, this is why she had all of these companies, which would make sense. She's like, she's always creating a new company. So she had a whole bunch of shell companies so that she could put money into them and probably, evading taxes. So Lisa in her confessional is like, here goes Whitney thinking she's Nancy Drew. And it's just like, no, I think that she's making observations. So she's like, yeah, why does Whitney know all of these things about Jen's business? And why does she know all of these things about money laundering? And I just feel like Lisa is insinuating things about Whitney and what she may have going on. One, I think two, she also is just going to take everything that Whitney is saying and she's going to tell Jen to try to disrupt any type of relationship that they have going on because that's just the way that Lisa is. So we get back to the vacation home. Meredith's in the bathtub and Mary shows up. So Mary comes finds her and she's just like, proper etiquette would be to greet somebody with your clothes on and with food. And it's just like, whatever, Mary. Because you showed up in a Christmas sweater to a vacation. So what you have to say doesn't matter. Anyways, Meredith is like, did you hear what's going on? And Mary's just like, yeah, I just found out when I got here. And she's just like, Robert Sr. told me and I didn't believe him. And then she looked it up and saw. She's just like, I don't understand. What is the basis? Like, and Meredith is like, well, I think when it all boils down to, she's being arrested for money laundering and fraud. And Mary's just like, I'm so blown away. And Meredith is like, I'm not surprised. And Mary is like, Meredith and I have similar experiences when it comes to Jen. They both were negative, but she just has no feelings, no reaction to what's going on. And I'm just like, yeah, because y'all are so forgiving to Jen, right? So even Meredith talked about, like, I was terrorized, my family was terrorized, and my business was terrorized by this lady for more than a year. And I was like, this is exactly what I was saying earlier. Like, Lisa wants her to have this, oh, over the top reaction, but it's just like she was doing things online. The way that she was talking about my son, none of y'all kids was talked about by Jen. That's why you don't have a reaction. But if somebody was talking about my child, I would feel the same way as Meredith. I don't care. F you. Go to jail. I don't care. And at the same time, Mary is just like, how can you do that to people? Um, take advantage of people. And it's just like, Mary, just wait. Just wait. Your time is coming, because the fact that one of your former church members is saying that you've done people very wrong, I'm sure that your tea is going to spill as well. And just like she was like, I don't really celebrate other people's pain, but sometimes you just have it coming. Well, I can't wait to see what you have coming. Okay? So as they are nearing the house, the rest of the ladies, they start to discuss like some of the tensions that may be happening in the house. They ask Whitney about her and Mary if they're okay, and then they get to Jenny, because Jenny has to butt in and say, you're not gonna tell me what I'm going to do. You're not my mother. Jenny, nobody wants to be your mother. That's such a juvenile response to what was said to you, in addition to you not being a victim. Mary didn't do anything to you. Please stop talking about it. At this point, I'm tired. So eventually they pull up to the house. All the ladies are there. They have some food and different things, and they want to still discuss what's going on with Jen. Um, I think that Meredith tried to change the subject, but they still kept talking about Jen. And Whitney brought up the fact that she got a message that Jen was actually arrested on the side of the road. They pinged her cell phone. And Heather is like, oh my goodness, how humiliating and degrading. Girl, people get arrested every single day, okay? Please. Okay, so we end off this episode with a lot of shockers. So Meredith talks about how uh Jen called her one time. She was on vacation with her family in New York City, and she had like 9 missed calls from Jen, but she was out to dinner with her family, so she didn't answer. And then she had called her back, and she was like, "Oh, no worries. I was at your store. Your manager let me in." So I guess that the store was closing, Meredith's store, and they obviously let Jen in because they know that Jen is Meredith's friend, so they could let her come in and shop, or supposed to be one of her friends. And in the store, um, Jen brings friends with her, and one of the friends stole an item from Meredith's store. So they have it on camera. They have it on camera, and her employee noticed that the item was missing. So she's like, okay, just text Jen and just be like, oh, did you borrow this item? Not trying to accuse them of anything, playing nice. And she said within 30 seconds, Jen called back and was like, oh, yeah, he did take it. Well, he'll bring it back tomorrow. So she was like red flag number one. Another red flag was that she was red flagged at Louis Vuitton because she always paid in cash. And everybody around the table just like shocked at all the tea. And then I'm just like, Lisa is very quiet. So at first I'm like, I think that she's just trying to sop up all this tea so she could go back to Jen, because basically it's almost like everybody's gonna turn their backs on Jen, and she will be able to just like bring Jen in to be Team Lisa 100%. But that wasn't the reason why. The reason why Lisa was quiet is because she's holding back some information about something that she knows as far as Jen. So everybody's just like, you need to spill it, and we are not going to know until next week. Salt Lake has been bringing it. I know a lot of people don't pay attention to it, but they be having some drama, okay? You guys let
You
me know what you thought about this episode in the comments down below, and I will speak to you next time.